welcome to the Hammers Academy YouTube page. We are here to talk about Felipe Anderson's loan move to Porto, all but confirmed today. All of the major sources sort of indicating this is happening. And for West Ham, this leaves a thin squad even thinner, especially when it comes to attacking options. Now, Lou, I guess the first question I have when it comes to this is, were you surprised that West Ham were seeking a deal for Felipe Anderson, and specifically a loan deal on deadline day and the day after, because the Portuguese window is still open?
Yeah, I think certainly at this stage of the transfer window, unless we end up bringing someone in like, say, Benrahma, I don't really see how it benefits us as a team and a squad. I know Anderson has had his critics over the past season or so, and even as recent as last week after his performance against Everton. But I think certainly if he can gain his confidence and get back into form, he certainly offers our squad something that probably no one else does. So I'm surprised that we're letting him go, and I just hope that we're lining someone up to bring in as a replacement.
Yeah, I share the kind of shock there, because it makes no sense when you think of left-sided attackers. We went from having Grady Diangana and Felipe Anderson to having Pablo Fornals, who's a central attacking mid, and potentially Mikel Antonio, who is a right winger naturally, and now a converted striker. Also, we have Robert Snodgrass, and despite him being left-footed, he specifically does not play on the left side. He prefers to cut in to cross and play centrally too.
Possibly Lanzini as well, to be fair, but
I even think like Lanzini,
again,
we might see him go more central, especially with the lack of depth we have at central mid now. So if for him to sit deeper and not necessarily be a defensive mid, but more of like a string puller rather than someone to jump into the box as like maybe a more traditional number 10. But someone who sits a little deeper and tries to initiate, but from deeper spots. But back to Felipe Anderson, I think you're right to say Said Benrahma would be the ideal replacement for him. But you would think that you would hope that Sullivan's bright enough at running a business to know that it's the same mentality as don't quit a job until you have a new one lined up. If you're going to be moving on from Felipe Anderson and his 115,000 pounds a week, you better be sure to have someone confirmed to be coming in on that left side. And I don't mean Danny Welbeck as a left winger.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we're going to let a player of Anderson's quality go, because we know he's got quality, we need to bring someone of equal quality in, really, like we say. On that left-hand side, like we said, we've got Fornals, Lanzini, both two kind of similar types of players who would rather cut in, work the ball rather than take players on with the pace, because they've not really got any pace. You mentioned Antonio, who can play on that side.
I guess Bowen too.
Yeah, but then we're moving Bowen from his best position, and we're just fitting people in where they shouldn't be when we shouldn't really need to.
Yeah.
Because, like you say, we've let Diangana go, where he's a natural left footer. He's an option we certainly didn't have last season, and we were all looking forward to him playing this season on that side. You can take players on that side and get crosses in. And there's Anderson as well, who's also got the pace. But now he's been let go. We've severely lacked pace down that left-hand side and in the squad as a whole. So, yeah, if we don't end up bringing someone in by is it 16th, the deadline?
16th, the domestic window, 16th.
Yeah, I think it only takes an injury to Fornals, and then we're down to bare bones in that position, as well as centre midfield and as well as centre back. So our squad at the minute, we really need some, recruitments that won't just, help the squad in terms of numbers, but help the squad in terms of quality.
Yeah, and something that's kind of bothered me too is the whole A team, B team that David Moyes used to set up his cup team and his Premier League team. Yeah. There was notable success with either team, but there was no reluctance to sort of mix these two teams together, specifically the attacks. So you look at, Fornals and Antonio having pretty solid chemistry as well as Bowen. And then when it was against lower league teams, Yarmolenko, Haller, and Felipe Anderson dominated as you would expect. But there was no and then, I mean, now it's a moot point because Anderson's gone, but there was no, okay, let's see if Anderson works on the left wing with Antonio up top, someone he can send a through ball to actually run onto and fill in behind, because we do know he's capable of playing centrally or even on the right wing. And Bowen likes to cut inside anyway. So, I mean, that's maybe managerial stubbornness on top of incompetence from the board, but another wasted opportunity.
Yeah, I think the match against Everton last week would have been a perfect opportunity for that because obviously it's in the cup. So, if we go out, we go out. But it 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 was against Premier League opposition as well. So we would have been able to see what that kind of, if we ended up getting a few injuries or whatever, we would have been able to see what that kind of lineup could potentially do against Premier League opposition, and very good Premier League opposition at that, with Everton being top of the league. So, it's all very well with our first team at the minute of flying with, fair play, with scoring goals, we're keeping clean sheets. It's all amazing. But it like we say, it only takes one or two injuries, and then we're relying on those players again to slot into a team where they haven't been playing. Because like you say, there's an A team and there's a B team. So yeah, it's in terms of squad depth at the minute and squad rotation, it's because it's all going great, but again, every week we seem to be moaning about Moyes' lack of substitutions. He's not really trying to develop the substitutes in the first team in any way, even in the last 20. I feel like the game against Leicester, he could have really made, and I know it's hard to complain, we won 3-0, it was an amazing performance,
I
but
know
you
what
know
you're
what I mean,
saying, though.
it would have been good to implement a few of those substitute players a bit earlier on, just so if they eventually do have to step in, they would be more prepared to.
Yeah, there'd be more comfortability and more chemistry that's already there rather than an
Exactly.
88th minute cameo. It makes sense. Now, outside of any first team players, so the Snodgrasses, the Yarmolenkos, I mean, realistically, I think if let's say Fornals got injured, we would probably see Antonio go to the left wing and Allaire come in centrally rather than Lanzini go to the left wing. Left wing,
Probably.
just based on trying to get Allaire to work and him being the first sub off the bench. Realistically, we may even see Mark Noble go into the left mid spot or left wing spot because
Uh,
he tends to be our Swiss Army knife here. But in the academy, as of right now, Zande Silva's left to a
yeah.
team in Greece on loan. He would have been a good option. He's played centrally and on the wing. Mizake Ju is still there. And Nathan Holland is, I think, still recovering from injury, but he's a left-sided attacker as it is anyways. Do
How
you see
long's
any
he out for?
viable options?
How long's Holland out for? Do you know? Is he
He
on
was
the mend?
he's on the mend. He got injured in January with a
Yeah,
hamstring injury, and I think he's still recovering from that. Although there's been no word on him getting better
it's
yet.
a long time for a hamstring injury, isn't it?
It seems suspiciously long.
I mean, it's nearly a year now, and he was. I would have said Holland. He went on loan to Oxford, was it? And he played really well for them in the first few games. I think against Newcastle in the FA Cup, he performed really well. He scored against them, which shows he's could potentially be ready to step up against Premier League opposition. But in the youth at the minute, I don't think anyone. I mean, it's all right playing well at youth level, but to step up to the Premier League playing against such quality every week it's a big ask, and I don't think it would really be fair to put that pressure on the youngsters in our youth academy who've never really experienced that level of football before.
I agree. Yeah. And I mean, Emmanuel Angelo, who
Yeah,
everyone was crying out for to be our left back, and then had a bit of a rough go in the cup game that he got into. I think he's a strong prospect, and he has played further up the pitch as a left mid and left winger. I think naturally he was a left winger, potentially him, but I mean, it's still early. Like you said, it would naturally be Nathan Holland. And hopefully we start to see some pictures of him in the training ground and get some updates on him because it's been far too long for a player as talented as he is.
for
But
sure.
I think it would realistically, without any new players coming in, the Said Ben Ramas, there's actually been like no other names brought up for forwards from the championship that have any legs. I think Carlin Grant is a name from Huddersfield. He's a striker though, potentially, but Watford's terminated the contract of Welbeck. Maybe he picks a pay to play contract up because he's probably still getting paid out, but even still, it's unreliable. There's just too many question marks right now as far as it stands that it would probably cause one of our right-sided attackers to move to the left side realistically.
Yeah, I think Moyes is kind of a man to stick with what he knows. So, he's trusted in Lanzini before, and I'm sure if an injury came in down that side, if he didn't play Antonio there and preferred to keep him up top, which he seems to, due to his work rate and overall game, uh, he possibly would just slot Lanzini in there. Um, I think Henry mentioned before in another video that Josh King could be an option, and if we could get him in, then he's very versatile across the front three. He
Yeah.
can play either wing or up front, so that would certainly be a plus and someone who would strengthen the quality of our squad indefinitely. Uh, so yeah, there's still options to be had in the championship, so it's not completely over yet, like we say. But I think we've missed out on by not, getting things over the line in terms of the overall transfer window rather than just the lower league one. We've probably missed out on quite a few signings who would have improved us, but you know we're past that now, and there's nothing we can do. So we've basically got to make the most of what we've got, and then if we bring anyone else in, it's a bonus.
I guess you're right there. And I guess final thoughts here. Do you think a loan move to Porto where he will be registered, Felipe Anderson will be registered in time to play Champions League football for them? Do you think that will instigate a move out of West Ham? I believe after this season, he'll have one more year left on his contract and will be 27 or 8 at the time. Do you
Yeah,
think West Ham cash in on him next summer?
I think it depends how he performs really, but if he ends up performing amazingly well at Porto, it leaves one or two things really. We could recoup a lot of money for him because obviously we spent 40 odd million on him in the first place. Or we get a second shot at him and get a rejuvenated Anderson. But then again, if he's found form elsewhere and happiness elsewhere, coming back to West Ham would be the best thing for him. So let's just hope he performs well for Porto. He's got a big chance to shine on a big stage, like you say, in the Champions League. I'll certainly be wishing him the best. I don't want him to flop or anything for them. Because I like him. He seems like a perfectly nice man. I don't think he's ever down tools like a few people are saying. I just think it's a lack of confidence, and some players are like that. Uh, so yeah, let's hope he performs well for Porto, and if we get a rejuvenated Anderson next season, then all the best. If not, then we should be able to get a decent fee for him.
I think you summed that up perfectly and took the words right out of my mouth. Wish him well. Hope he does well for himself and for West Ham and for Porto. So I think that wraps us up here. Sad to see him go, but wish him the best. And until next time, come on, you Irons.